All right, everybody, you're getting ready for your quiz tomorrow, and you want to remember a couple things. You want to remember that opposites cancel to make 0. Another big deal that you want to remember is the opposite of a negative is a positive. Rewrite it. Rambo Jambo. You don't have to do the end if you don't want to. So, again, those are two big concepts. Opposites cancel to make 0, and the opposite of a negative is a positive. So, let's go over the homework and see if you did it correctly. Okay, getting ready for the quiz tomorrow. 2 plus 7 is 9. 6 positives and 2 negatives. Well, 6 minus 2 is 4. That's really what the problem is saying. 8 minus 5 is 3. And like we said, sometimes when you start doing these crazy problems, you start thinking the easy ones are hard, right? That's okay. 9 positives and 10 negatives. If I'm on 9 positive and I go back 10, I'm going to pass 0 by 1. Right? So -1 is your answer there. I'm going to skip over to 11 just because it's easier. I've got 18 negatives and 25 positives. Remember, when signs are different, we always subtract. So 15 minus 8 is 7, and I have more positives, so my answer is just positive 7. Next one, 15 negatives combined with 19 negatives. Add them negatives. 19 and 15 make, whoop, carry that 1. I get 34, but don't forget to check your sign. It is -34. Lots of ways to do 13. I'm going to combine my negatives first. I have 25 negatives. I have 28 positives. And it just winds up to be 28 minus 25, right? And I get 3. Next one, check this out. Don't be confused. 12 negatives. Or sorry, 20 negatives, right? 12 negatives and 6 negatives. They're all negatives. So that means that you're adding all of them. Even now that one says subtract, we're adding all of them. So you get 20, 32, plus 6 is 38. In that problem, I have 38 negatives. All right, next section here. Number 5. -5 minus 3 is -8. You're adding the negatives. Here, I'm going to add my positives first. 7 plus 3 is 10. Now, instead of writing -4, watch where I put the -4. I'm going to put the -4 over here and realize the negative becomes the minus sign because they're the same thing. 10 minus 4 is 6. Next one. I spend 8, I spend 2. What'd you do? You spent 10, right? And you have 1 positive. So 1 minus 10, that is -9. Next one. I have 13 negatives and 11 positives. Right? If it's 13 degrees out below 0 and it raises 11, it's still in the negatives by 2. Okay, sliding over to number 15, we got some bigger numbers over here. And realize these are both negatives, right? When the signs are the same, we add. So I'm going to line this up vertically. And I get 289 negatives. All right. This guy, we're going to subtract. The signs are different, so we're going to subtract. And you realize that you have 450, and why do we put 450 on top? Because we always put what we have more of on top, right? So I can't take 2 from 0, so I got to borrow 1, put the 1. I get 8, 2, 2. And a lot of kids are going to get 228. Realize, you got to ask yourself after doing that problem, do I have more positives or more negatives? And think, if it was 222 degrees outside, not that it could ever get that hot, you'd be boiling alive. But, and it dropped 450, you'd be way in the negatives, right? Okay, a couple questions left. I'm just going to do this because it's easy. 120 minus 10 is 110. Combined with 45 negatives, I could just write minus 45. And you might have heard me in the class. You know, when we have these two things, the opposite of a negative is a positive. Well, we could actually circle these two things and say the opposite of a positive. What is that? Opposite of a positive is a negative. So if you want to write it like that, you can too, right? So 110 minus 45, going to borrow 1. I get 5. I can't take 4 from 0, so I borrow another 1, and I get 55. So 55 overall. I check my sign. I have more positives than negatives. All right, moving on. I could do this problem here and just subtract, but I am going to combine my negatives. Since they're both negative, I add 48, 86. I'm going to add those because they're both negative. 14, 12, 13. I have 134 negatives. And I've got 86 positives. So this question can get tricky. The signs are different. So now I'm going to subtract. And when you do subtract, you have to put what you have more of on top. So 134 minus 86, I get 8. Borrow again. 12 minus 8 is 4. And realize you have more negatives than positives. So you wind up getting negative 48. Tricky problem there. All right, down to the last couple here. 8 minus 20. Remember, the signs are different, so I subtract. 20 minus 8 is, and you could use mental math, but I want to double check myself. It is 12, and I've got more negatives than positives. Always check them signs. A lot of kids here are going to say, negative 12, take away 12 is 0, but that is incorrect. It is 12 negatives. Remember, all negative, I could make negatives, negatives, negatives. They're all the same. So add those negatives, and you get 24 negatives. All right, absolute value. Remember, anything inside the absolute value sign comes out positive, but I want to know what the opposite of that is. So that's negative 12 compared to positive 12. Positive's always bigger than negative. All right, least to greatest. Think of a number line. I'm going to make my number line. All right, if I put 0 here, this isn't going to be drawn to scale, but what would be the number furthest away from 0 in the negative direction? That would be negative 130, would be somewhere over here. So that's the smallest number. What would be closest to that? Well, negative 125 would be somewhere in there. And then still on the negative side, closer to 0 is negative 6. So all my negatives are gone, right? Now, what's the closer to 0 here? When I'm counting up, 0, 2 would come first. So 2 would come next, right? And then finally, 64. That's our final number, which would be over here somewhere. Okay, again, not drawn to scale, but that kind of helps you understand. All right, guys, good luck on your quiz tomorrow, and I hope you do well. You'll do awesome if you prepare, practice, and if you paid attention. Okay? So good luck to you guys, and we'll see you soon.